Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am making this podcast to talk about how I feel about things. Basically, just to document things as it goes. I was given some very unfortunate news, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but it really makes you think about life a little bit more. And I want to record these videos and the audio of my voice so that people that are following me in life can actually go back and reflect and watch these videos and maybe get a few things and hear some stories again. And especially for my youngest son, who is uh, just about to turn 20 months old, I really worry that I want to make sure that he remembers me and knows who I am. Um, in no way, shape, or form is this going to be a professional podcast. I'm not really looking for quality. I'm not going to edit probably. I'm just going to be recording videos. So what you see is the raw form of what happens as I record these. I don't even know if I'm going to publish this or not yet. Again, I'm basically doing this for people who are following me, my children. I have a lot of kids um, who I think maybe, I would appreciate seeing more videos of my father just recently passed away. So I would appreciate seeing more videos and hearing his voice a little bit more. We don't really think about that until we can't do it anymore. But basically, that's what this podcast is about. Uh, I'll talk a little bit about myself here. Um, I am 45 years old. I was born in 1980. I survived the 80s. Uh, Good or bad. I don't know how you feel on that. Um, excuse me. I had a pretty good childhood and a pretty bad childhood at the same time. Um, I had to deal with a lot of abuse issues and stuff when I was very young. Um, and that's unfortunate. Uh, I would hate to be the parent of the child who goes through that. I know it's probably was a really hard thing for my mom and my dad to have that happen. And I'll talk more about that as podcasts go on. But a lot of different things in my childhood uh, that were very traumatic that still affect me to this day. But at the same point in time, I had a really good childhood too. And I know that's weird saying that I had a bad childhood and a good childhood at the same time, but that's how I feel about that. I spent a large majority of my days building tree forts and going fishing and canoeing up and down the Kalamazoo River. Um, we pretty much called ourselves river rats, right? So that was a very positive um, thing for me to enjoy and be able to experience that I'm sure that a lot of people wouldn't be able to do. I would get home from school and grab the canoe and a paddle and just go out and enjoy nature and do some fishing or build a tree fort or do all the dumb things that kids in the 80s could do without fear of being video recorded and having it blasted all over social media. So I had a pretty good time. Um, as we go on with podcasts, I'll tell more and more of my story, and you'll hear more stuff. Really, the meat of this is my health. Probably about 2 years ago. Well, I guess we should start from the beginning. I got hurt on one of my deployments. I was in the Army for 13 years. I got hurt on one of my deployments, and I ripped my meniscus in half in my left knee. Very painful. Um, Pain never really went away, and all this happened. That happened in 2003, and at that time we were starting to battle the opioid crisis. So uh, the military doctors told me to take ibuprofen or Motrin over the counter, and then the VA continued to tell me to take ibuprofen or NSAIDs or Motrin over the counter, which I did, and it did help. Unfortunately, though, it didn't help until I was taking multiple handfuls of ibuprofen and Motrin a day, sometimes up to 5 of them, which would have been about 1,000 milligrams. For one, my body doesn't metabolize medicine the same, so I usually have to take more. And two, the pain was pretty bad. By the time that I got out of the military, it was affecting my other um, knee because I was favoring that leg, so I was wearing that knee out. It was affecting my back. There was a 14 millimeter difference in my hip because of the shortening of my left leg due to the ripped meniscus. So that was causing me some pain. It was spreading up into my back as well because my discs were trying to adjust to the changes in my hip. That resulted after a decade of dealing with that and dealing with taking Motrin and ibuprofen. I built up quite a bit of scar tissue and arthritis around my spinal cord, pretty much all the way up to my neck. It was causing me to have 2 to 3 migraines per week, immense amount of back pain, shoulder pain, leg pain. And again, I was just loading my body up with Motrin and ibuprofen to combat that so that I could, live a somewhat normal life. And about 5 years ago, in about 2020, 2019, 2020, they found that my liver enzymes, before I get into that, I don't drink. So I know alcohol wasn't a contributing factor to this. And when they told me that my liver enzymes were really high, and I mean extremely high, that prompted them to do more testing and to check everything out. And it concluded that I had non-alcoholic fatty liver disease that had progressed pretty far in. I wasn't at stage 4 yet. I didn't have cirrhosis, thank goodness. But it had still really affected my organs. My spleen was elongated and swollen because it was trying to take care of all the stuff that my liver couldn't take care of. It was affecting my immune system. I was starting to have like skin stuff pop up, like cirrhosis, or psoriasis, and other things that I didn't really ever have before because my immune system wasn't as strong as it could have been. So I was dealing with all of that. I was dealing with pain still because now, after hearing that, the medicine that I was taking was the culprit of why my liver was failing, I was scared to take it. So I stopped taking it. That spiraled me into more pain, which unfortunately brought in a lot more anxiety and depression. Uh, it's a very depressing thing when you go to bed hurting and before you even get to bed that you're going to wake up hurting still, and that there's no end to that. So that's very depressing to have to realize and deal with. Ultimately, I tried to continue working. I was a power engineer. I worked for graphic packaging, and my job wasn't very physical at this point. I was the one of the lead power engineers, or the lead shift engineer. So a large majority of my job was sitting at a desk and doing the things. But I still had to get out every once in a while and climb stairs and go check things. And I was getting to the point where I really couldn't do it anymore. And work, my employer, graphic packaging, they were not very accommodating. My boss was very rude to me about it, even though I had continuously saved them in multiple situations, mainly because I had the knowledge that a lot of people there didn't have yet because they were newer. And that soured me. And I remember I had to call in, and I had only called in like I think 4 times in 10 years. And on the fourth time that I had to call in, I got a really because I couldn't work because I was sick and I couldn't move. Um, I had a really bad text from my boss, and it was very disrespectful, and I didn't appreciate that. And then when I went to work the following day, actually, I think I had to take 2 days off. When I went to work after that, the minute that I got into work, he uh, was very disrespectful to me, just lit into me, was trying to set me up for failure at my job. So I packed up all my stuff. First and foremost, I logged on my bank and I looked at how much money I had in my bank account because I had been saving money very heavily. I was also doing a lot of investing and I was day trading, and I just logged on to my bank account and I looked at my bank account and the number was high enough for me to go, I don't need to work. So I retired. And that was probably one of the best decisions of my life. And I'll explain to you why here in a second. But I retired. That allowed me to focus more on me. It also allowed me to not have to worry about those days that I really couldn't get up out of bed due to uh, having, pain or sciatica, which I have frequently, or migraines. Because before all this, I would just go to work and work even though I wasn't feeling great, and I just tried to do the best that I could do. But at this point, it was bad enough to where I didn't want to deal with feeling that way and deal with the disrespectful employer. So I quit. I retired. Um, Best decision again that I've ever made in my life, and the reason why I say was the best decision was because I got to enjoy life a little bit because I wasn't worried about punching in or going to work or a paycheck or any of those things. But a year after I retired, I uh, kept getting sicker. Um, at this point in time, I was having visual hallucinations of bugs and mice, which and I knew it wasn't real, but I mean, that's a pretty concerning thing to have. I didn't even tell anyone about that for at least a year when I was having those, and then finally got to the point where I started telling my doctor about it, and I told Miranda about that, and then they started digging and investigating why. And after some time, I was also really starting to have some vision issues, which I never really had. I had really good vision, um, and we at first contributed it to sleep deprivation because I was only getting about 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night, mainly because of the fact that my brain doesn't really shut off ever. I'm constantly thinking about 40 different things, and also due to the fact that I was in pain. Um, they thought maybe my liver was playing into that a little bit. Uh, all the different things we went through the list, and finally, after they ruled sleep out, they put me on medicine for sleep, and I was starting to get about 4 to 5 hours of sleep, which was amazing, by the way. Uh, they decided that they were going to send me in for an MRI to check for onset Lewy body dementia. During the MRI, I think I went on a Sunday to have my MRI done, and it was about Sunday late afternoon. I got a call Monday morning, not even 12 hours after my MRI, stating that they had found some stuff that they wanted to take a little bit closer look at, and I needed to come back in and have an MRI right away. So they got me back in pretty quick to have another MRI, and within 2 hours after my MRI, I got the call stating that they had found what they believed was a glioma in my brain, which basic terms for most of us is that's a brain tumor. So that resulted in 4 months of testing and more MRIs and sending me to different doctors and doing all the things. They sent me up to University of Michigan Hospital because they have really good medical staff there. They're amazing there, by the way. I don't know. Hopefully, you never have to go, but that place is amazing. And they finally determined that I had inoperable brain cancer, and it's and we're still doing MRIs to get a growth chart. But we are assuming at this point that it's a low grade glioblastoma, non-operable. My neurosurgeon, super good guy. Probably not the greatest at giving bad news, but I don't blame him. I would hate to be that person to have to do that. Um, but yeah, he said if we go in to do a biopsy, that chances are probably not coming out because of brain bleeds, because of where the tumor is, where the cancer is in my brain. It's pretty much in the middle of my brain, right on the front of my brain stem. So it's probably one of the worst spots you can have it. So I took his advice and I opted to not get a biopsy. The bad thing about that is no biopsy, there's no treatment plan. They can't put you on chemo or radiation until they know exactly what type of cancer it is to be able to treat that properly. So right now I am just in waiting mode, and every couple months I go in for MRIs to check on the growth so that they can get somewhat of an idea how fast it's growing. Um, I've seen multiple optometrists and neuro-optometrists to try to get my vision taken care of. Um, just in the past 6 months, I've gone through 4 different prescriptions of glasses. And right now, I'm not wearing glasses because the glasses that I have currently aren't working anymore. It kind of makes it worse. So I have new glasses coming. It takes like 4 weeks to get them. So hopefully I'll get those soon. But yeah, anyways, got the diagnosis that nobody wants to hear, man. Inoperable brain cancer. So that sparks a ton of emotions in itself. Um, I've had a few nights where I went off to be by myself and cried, and I've had a few nights where I cried next to my girlfriend. I've had some nights where my girlfriend cried. Um, it's really hard on my mom and my sister because they just lost my dad, and literally a month after my dad passed away, I found out all of this. So it has taken its toll. Um, Unfortunately, death is a part of life. It's not avoidable. Uh, but yeah, so that's my health. That's my feelings on being diagnosed. Um, I don't really feel sad for me. I've done a lot of things. I've traveled. I've seen a lot of places in the world. I was Army for 13 years, and I got to do a lot of cool things. I was a tanker. Got my tank tattoo, right? I was on a A1 tank crew back before they got rid of those, and did a bunch of other cool stuff. So I'm really fortunate, I really fortunate with everything that I've done in my life. My 2 oldest children are 28 and 24, so I'm not scared that they won't remember me. Um, and I know that they'll be okay. I have 4 grandchildren from my oldest, and I know that most of my grandkids will remember me. I'm hoping that I live long enough for the youngest to remember me. And um, my girlfriend has 3 children before we got together, and they're old enough to remember me. And then we had a son uh, 20 months ago, and I really worry about him and how he's going to be, and who's going to teach him to shave or ride a bike or do all the things. Really hope that I, again, stick around long enough to be able to do that. Um, but in case I don't, that's one of the reasons why I'm having this podcast, so that I can leave behind some stuff for him to reference. And that's pretty much why I wanted to do this podcast. And that's pretty much what I aim to achieve with this podcast. So I don't really know exactly what I'm going to talk about. I don't know um, all the things that I'm going to do. I just wanted to put this podcast in and introduce everything and talk about why I'm doing it. And yeah, I'll put it all on a hard drive, and if they wanna put it out there for everybody, they can. If they just want to hold it for themselves, they can. Whatever they want to do is up to them. Um, Maybe I'll release it before I'm gone. I don't know yet. I don't really know what I'm gonna do, but there's gonna be more. There's gonna be a lot of different things that I talk about. Unfortunately, you have to forgive me a little bit. I'm talking a little bit slower. One of the medicines that they've put me on for um, this whole thing is because the brain cancer is causing me to have seizures. They're putting me on a medicine called Lamictal, or and it really makes my speech slow. It makes it hard to find words sometimes. So I'm doing my best to not let that affect me in this podcast. But we'll see. Um, Hopefully, the people that I leave behind will get some stuff out of this, and then hopefully I'll be able to say some things so that everything that I need said to people is said. Maybe I'll do individual podcasts on the people that I'm close to in my family so that they can have that to keep. But yeah, this is the podcast, and this is it for episode 1. So I will go ahead and bid farewell, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks.